What's going on, you guys? My name is Cookie Rot and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the newest entry into the DCEU by James Gunn, The Suicide Squad. And guys, this movie was such a blast. So the first part of this video is going to be no spoilers, and we'll jump into some spoilers later on in the video. I'll let you guys know when that is. But for right now, I'll just let you know my basic thoughts, and then just kind of go from there, yeah? So this film has such a different feel than all these other movies. I think DC really found where it wants to be, what it wants to be, in terms of Warner Bros. And what they're sort of looking to do now with their films. And you can really tell that James Gunn was really looking forward to this project, and you can tell there's a lot of love and a lot of excitement. That Warner Bros. Wasn't nearly as strict, and they weren't nearly as controlling in this film, and you can definitely see it throughout its runtime. Honestly, guys, I mean, at the end of the day, this is just a fantastic, fun movie. This isn't meant to be very serious. This isn't meant to be very. This isn't like the nitty-gritty type of stuff that came from Batman v Superman or Man of Steel or anything like that. There's things that are serious about it, but it's not the entire point of the movie. This is a comedy, first and foremost. Absolutely is. It's not like one of those. It's not. It's different because of how unhinged it is. Like, this isn't the first time that DC's tried to do mainly comedy because of Shazam, but I think this is where they really said, all right, James Gunn, you've got control. Like, this is it. Like, go ahead, do your thing. And I think it shows here that he was able to express just how much, just off the walls, do whatever he wants to do, and I think it really does pay off here, in this film. And I think that the only reason that this movie isn't doing as good as I thought it would is only because of it being on HBO Max at the same time as theaters. I think that was a mistake on Warner Bros. Part. And I hope that they don't do that continuing on. Because I don't know if you guys have been seeing the news on these recently, but Shang-Chi won't be in Disney Plus until 45 days after its initial release. And I think that's very phenomenal, very fantastic, and I wish that was their game plan from the beginning. And I think that's going to really help the box office here. Doing it something a little bit more like that, and I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I think it's a really smart decision on Disney's part, and I hope that these films coming forward do that same pattern. I hope the sales show that that's going to be the case, because I think that's one of the biggest downfalls here of the Suicide Squad, is that it did not get that exclusivity in the box office to make people want to go watch this in theaters. I think that's why we're seeing those movie theater sales not do as well. But back to the movie here. All these characters are really good. They're all lovable. Even Starro the Conqueror, I think, was such a fantastic choice. Just for the sheer absurdity of this movie. Gunn knew that this was going to be an absurd movie regardless. This was going to be... if it was going to be off the walls, it's going to be off the walls. And he originally wanted to do Superman. And I think Starro the Conqueror was definitely the better choice here. I think having Starro was a very smart move on his end, considering the fact that he was able to give one of these obscure villains who's been there forever now, since the first Justice League of America, and finally give him some actual good representation here, and I really like that he did that. I think just it adds on to all that. Another thing that I liked is that he does these segments in order to like chop up the movie. He puts it in like these weird transitions that look like these comic book titles, and I think that was really smart, really nicely done. And that's something that I wish that Marvel would take more into consideration. Like this was a very creative movie. This was a very, if this didn't work out the way it did, I think that it would have been a lot more monstrous, a lot more chaotic. But this is a very controlled chaos in terms of James Gunn knew exactly what he was doing from the very beginning in terms of all this, and it really shows here. The CGI is spot on. The soundtrack is spot on. The acting is great. Bloodsport does absolutely wonderful in this movie. John Cena's acting in this movie is also really good, and I think he really stole the show here. Him and King Shark, I think, were my two favorite characters in this movie. King Shark more so just because he was a cuddly little, fantastic, great on screen. Polka Dot Man was really interesting. Harley Quinn, I think, was the one character that I wish was done a little better. I think that she was the weakest link in this film. And even then, I don't think she did all that bad. I don't think it was that bad whatsoever. I still enjoyed her on screen. The only problem, which we'll get into spoilers here in just a second here, is just her little bit where it's just her. And we'll get into that here. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think this probably was the most fun I've ever had in a DC movie for a really long time, besides the animated ones. I think this was probably on the scale of the Dark Knight trilogy, and just in terms of raw entertainment and just how good of a movie it was in terms of storytelling. And I think I think it was really nicely done here, and I think DC's finally found its stride. Overall, I'd probably give it like a B+, probably. Like high 80s, 80 out of 100, like 8.5 out of 10. We'll go 8.5 out of 10. This was a great film. This was absolutely wonderful. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think it's a really good entry point into figuring out where DC's going to go from here. All right, we're going on to the spoilers. If you guys haven't clicked off already because you don't want spoilers, click off in 3, 2, 1. All right. So the biggest issue that I had is that it takes a very screeching halt near the middle where we jump back to where Harley Quinn is, where she's over with the basically the president, the guy that's going to be taking over this Central America fucking country. And that's my biggest issue with this movie, is sometimes these cuts between things don't make a whole lot of sense. And I think her jumping through it brings it down a lot. Just because while we know that Harley Quinn's going to be in the movie, and Harley Quinn was the main attraction in this movie, especially because it's a not only is it a soft reboot of the 2016 movie, obviously, but it's also the follow-up to Birds of Prey. And I think, while we don't need to focus on her, I think bringing it to a screeching halt in terms of pacing was not the right move here. I wish that we got... I wish they didn't spend as much time on it. I thought it was really weird, but even then, it wasn't bad. Like, it didn't kill the pacing entirely. It just kind of let us figure out how Harley Quinn gets to Team B from the movie. But let's back up for a minute here, and let's talk about the beginning of the movie, where we have Johnny Cash as the beginning licensed song. And I got scared for a minute because I thought, oh my god, we're going to get so much licensed music in this movie. And it didn't happen. And I'm really glad about that, because the 2016 version, this 2016 Suicide Squad had, I don't remember how much I counted, but it was in the double digits. It was double digits in terms of licensed songs. That sucks. But I think they chose so well for these songs that they did, and Johnny Cash, to introduce this movie is so good. The editing, fantastic the entire way through. Walker is phenomenal in this movie. She does absolutely wonderful. Look, guys, in the comics, right, she's supposed to be this, she's not like evil, but she will do evil things to get her way, right? She does evil things so that she can get what she wants, and this is completely and utterly shown in this movie, and I think it's so well done. And the actor she was great in the 2016 version, in terms of her acting. I don't think her character was all that great, but her acting, stellar. In this movie, it's both. She is a fantastic actor. When she goes and she says, "Stand down!" Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely incredible. And then we go, we just watch her as we jump back and forth between where the Suicide Squad is and how she's handling this. And it meshes together so well. And then when these guys, when they're going to go fight Star the Conqueror, she's trying to tell them all to stop. And then she takes a baseball bat to the head. Like, that's awesome. That was so cool. Starro being the main antagonist, like I said, was a great choice. And it looks so well done, but also just, again, the absurdity of this whole film. I mean, the amount of deaths from the very beginning and the very end is great, and I love it. The only issue that I had with the deaths, I wish that Pete Davidson had a little more time. I wish that these deaths were spread out just a little bit more throughout the movie, instead of a big bunch of deaths in the beginning and a big bunch of deaths in the end with nothing really in between. But again, that's more probably a creative decision on Gunn's choice, but also because we needed to get to know, obviously we need to get to know Rick Flag, and we need to get to know Peacemaker and Polka Dot Man before they all obviously bit the dust entirely. If we're talking about John Cena, I'm very excited for his series. I think, like I said, he absolutely killed it in this movie, but also him being the two-time double-crosser was a brilliant decision as well. This was everything that it should have been. Rick Flag was great. I did expect him to go, though. I did expect Rick Flag to not make it through this film. I didn't expect Polka Dot Man to make it through this film. And I did think for a really long time that King Shark probably wasn't going to make it, and I'm glad that he did. You could also tell in this movie, especially when Bloodsport is yelling at his daughter, you could tell that was made for Will Smith and Deadshot. You could tell that was exactly what it was meant to be. Like, it was supposed to be this, I almost feel like it was supposed to be a consequence of the first movie, of the 2016 version, was that he and his daughter were not supposed to have a relationship anymore, and that she wasn't going to be proud of him for what he did in the 2016 movie. And I think that's what it was supposed to be, and unfortunately it wasn't. And obviously that's out of James Gunn's control as he tries to get Will Smith in there, but I think it should have at least been a little more rewritten so that way it fit Bloodsport a little better. But I think it still works. I think it still worked. And besides from those couple things here and there, this was a great movie. This was so much fun. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the same time, it's a comic book movie, and I don't think it needs to make sense. It's a great story. It's a fantastic story. It works wonders throughout the entire thing, and I think that James Gunn did an absolutely phenomenal job with this. The acting was great, super stellar, just a couple hiccups here and there, but other than that, I think it was such a good time. And I definitely recommend watching it if you haven't already. I think it leaves HBO Max on September 5th. So if you haven't watched it already, please do. I'll probably make a couple follow-up videos talking a little more in depth about this. The next movie review that's probably going to happen from me is going to be Shang-Chi, which I believe is coming out September, September 8th, I think. Let me check on that. Shang-Chi release date, September 3rd. Alrighty, guys. So September 3rd is when the next movie review comes out for Shang-Chi, the next entry into the MCU, and the next part of Phase 4, right before we get Eternals and Spider-Man. And you guys know that when those drop, you can see all my thoughts right here on this channel. So if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next movie review. Take care of yourselves.